Hey, Rach, I can't stream to Twitter, it's telling me.
I'll try and fix it. If not, that's okay.
All right, can you try that? And then or you can just take over.
You're listening to Girls with Grafts, a burn community podcast created by Phoenix Society for Burn Survivors, a leading nonprofit dedicated to supporting the burn community. In this podcast, we'll talk with burn survivors, share resources to help with supporting and improving burn recovery, and discuss how to prevent burn injuries. Here are your hosts, burn survivors and Phoenix Society's marketing team, Amber Wilcox and Rachel Kudlak.
Hello and welcome back to Girls with Grafts. I am Rachel Kudlak, one of the hosts of the show, and today for our live episode, I am joined by my lovely co-host, Amber Wilcox.
Hello, so excited to be live. I always enjoy hearing from all the folks out there that listen to the show, or maybe if this is your first time joining us, we're so excited because we have a repeat guest, but one of our favorites here on the show. We won't tell anyone else, I promise. And before we introduce her, Rachel, can you go ahead and give our sponsor for today's podcast a shout out?
Yes, so today's podcast is powered by Allosource. Allosource is one of the largest human tissue providers, honoring tissue donors by creating innovative skin allografts to help burn surgeons heal patients. You can learn more about Allosource and their continuing education hours for our burn care professionals by visiting their resource marketplace listing directly on our website. So we'll make sure we have that linked below for all of our listeners.
Yes, and before we introduce our guest, I do want to put out a shout out there. If anyone has any special questions for our guest today or anything that they are wondering about, or even just want to say hello, please put your comments in the chat. We will be taking stuff because we are live today. This is in real time.
Yes. So if you looked at the header, you already know who today's guest is. We're so excited to have Kechi back on the podcast. If you don't know Kechi, she is an author and powerful singer. She is an inspirational and TEDx keynote speaker, an MBA student, and a bullying prevention advocate. Her dramatic story, as well as her impactful messages of resiliency and overcoming, combine powerfully to inspire personal and cultural transformation. Kechi found her true voice after her burn accident, which was a plane crash that took the lives of 107 of the 109 passengers in Nigeria in 2005. Throughout the difficult journey of burn recovery, Kechi was sustained by her Christian faith, her family, and her music. Becoming a finalist on America's Got Talent in 2017 was Kechi's truest dream realized, and on June 10th, 1 year later, she released her debut album or single, Don't You Dare, on all digital music platforms. She hopes to use her voice and her story to ignite hope all over the world within those that need it. So, Kechi, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, guys. Thank you for having me. It's good to be back.
It's so good to see you. For those of you that maybe are just joining us for the first time, Kechi has been a repeat guest, and I know you've shared your story on our previous chat, but we would love to find out what's new and exciting with you before we dive into some more questions. So give us an update, Kechi.
No problem. This year has been pretty busy in terms of my corporate job. So I graduated with my MBA last year, 2020.
Wonderful. Congratulations.
Thank you. And I got a job, a corporate job, in the Woodlands, a couple months before I graduated. So that was really relieving because the job market is scary. So
There is.
it's been really cool. I've been working for the same company now for a little over a year. So since before I graduated to currently. And it's a hybrid job. It's 2 days a week in the office, and most of it is remote, which is really, really cool because they were very accommodating in terms of my other life, which involves like traveling and speaking, things like that, which would be hard to do, if I had a regular 9 to 5. So they were very flexible, which I appreciated. And essentially, there's two things I do for them: social media marketing, and also helping them build their sustainability, like, I guess, department pretty much, when it comes to
Awesome.
recruiting things, ESG related. So I help, that's the team that I work on. That's where my direct boss is in. And then I pretty much run everything social media for the company as well. They didn't have anything when I started except LinkedIn. So it's been quite the journey building something, and very different for for a corporate company, compared to building like a personal brand. So
Mm-hmm.
I learned along the way, and they haven't fired me, so I think I'm ready.
You must
Sounds
be
like you're
doing
doing a good
something
job.
right.
Kechi, what is your MBA, if you don't mind me asking?
No problem. I got an MBA. It's a business. I got it in economics. The same thing as my
Awesome.
undergrad. Yeah, my
Yeah,
bachelor's.
I know the last time we were talking, we talked about you wanting to get more into social marketing and kind of
Yes,
diving in.
we had
So
a whole
I'm excited
conversation.
for you and
Thank
glad
you.
it's working out well.
Thanks. I'm really grateful, especially because traveling has slowed down quite significantly. Like
Mm.
so far this year, I would say I've maybe done 5 gigs or so, which is like usually what I would average in like 2 months in the past pre-COVID. But at least I will say that the jobs I do get pay really well. So it makes me kind of a little, I guess, grateful, really, because I feel like I'm kind of juggling like all the balls that I want to in the air, at the same time. It's a little challenging, but I feel like this is the best time to do everything I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty much like where I'm at right now with that. Yeah. So still traveling, still singing, speaking, all that good stuff. But it's slowed down a lot, really, but I also have my other job. So I'm just trying my best to
Good
do like this
backup.
balance and act, really. Yeah. So
Yes, and you have that wonderful background that it's captivating to me. So I for everyone listening today, she joined and I was like, and I think it's maybe the color that's reflecting. Your hair looks great. It's a whole vibe today.
it's
I'm
everything.
loving it.
I have my
I'm
ring
loving
light.
it.
I have also. Thank you,
Kechi, are
guys.
you?
Thank you. I'm glad you like it.
I love it. Are you catching up on America's Got Talent? I'm wondering.
Am I what?
Have you been catching up on America's Got Talent? I've
Once
watched
in
a
a
couple
while,
of
yeah. The
episodes.
singers, especially. I watch American Idol, America's Got Talent. American Idol had a contestant in their last season that was actually a friend of mine. So I was watching, I was rooting for her. She's actually been on several
Singing
talent shows
shows.
over the.
Yeah.
Oh, my light just went off.
Oh,
Oh,
we lost.
1 sec. Let me see what's going on.
There we go.
Okay. All right, we're good. So yeah, so I watched the whole of last season because I was rooting for her, and she made it so far. She made it to the top 10, which was cool.
Wow.
Oh,
Which is
that's
really hard
awesome.
in American Idol, right?
Yeah.
American Idol is like one of the harder ones to progress in, but she's just so amazing. Yeah. So
Yeah.
and then America's Got Talent also I watch whenever there's like any singers. I can't really help it. I'm always so curious to see,
Yeah.
the new batch and just see how they're doing and stuff like that. So yeah, I've been keeping up with it.
Do you have a favorite judge? I have a favorite judge.
You do?
I gotta ask this
I
question.
don't know. I feel like nothing has really changed in terms of the judge that I think his opinion like matters the most, really. I feel like it's still Simon, and I feel like people still like value his opinion the most.
Yes.
So
Mhm.
yeah, and then
Judge,
from
I
based
gotta
on
say.
my season, both times I was on the show, I really, really liked Howie.
Mhm.
But I really also have always kind of liked Simon because he um, was rooting for me as well. So it was kind of like
Mhm.
really cool to have someone like him, have some kind of stake in, how I do and, what I do with my life. So I
Yeah.
think I might be a little biased to him just because he's also helped me off the show a lot. So
Simon has or Howie
yeah,
has?
yeah, like with other things like my book, writing the forward for my book and stuff.
Wow.
So yeah, I
That's awesome.
feel, and then just based on my experience, on the show as well, with
Yeah.
him. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I would say it was definitely between Howie and Simon, I would say.
Well, yeah,
It
it's
was
good to
very
hear that he's as nice of a person off the show as he is. I know sometimes he gets a bad rap because he's honest.
Yes, he does. He does.
Um,
He's
I
he's
have all
gentler
this
now
respect
though,
for
I
him.
would say. He's just a little gentler now. So
Yeah, I think he got, I don't know,
Mhm.
gentler as he got older, or I know he has a
yes,
son now
I
too.
think
So
so. Yeah.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
he's a gentle spirit now.
Not as intense. Not as intense for sure.
Not as
I
intense.
don't think I met. He's living less like intense now than when I was on the show, and I think at the time I met him, he was already like very mellow. So it's like
Yeah.
Mhm.
that's a lot. Yeah,
Sometimes he's so honest though, or like there's somebody who's just so ridiculous on the show, and I think he does it for like a good laugh,
yeah.
but
Like it's
he
like a good
makes me
show.
laugh. Yes, and
Yeah.
you're like, there was this one gentleman who my mom can tell you, like I was watching it crying. He does like different poses, like, and he's literally like pretending like he's naked, but he's not. I know it sounds funny, but he's like, and he's won several other Got Talents. Like I think,
Wow.
like yeah, so he like joined America's Got Talent and he's won several times and he's hysterical. Like I'm telling you, it's like the not wearing pants guy or something is his name. If you've not seen it, you have to watch it. It's hysterical. But he's ridiculous and like no one should ever approve this guy, right? To like make it move it forward. But I kid you not, he made it forward and I was crying and Simon moved him forward and I was like, I think it was like so ridiculous and every time I watch it I've cried. But he's, if you go back, he's won a couple of Got Talents I think, or at least like gone pretty far and it
That's
makes me
really
laugh
funny,
how
actually. That's really
yes,
funny. Let me see. I feel like I know who you're talking about. If I like
hold on.
see his
I
like
think
picture or
he
something. I
says
feel like
like I'm wearing and I gotta find, hold on, I can tell you. If you haven't watched him, you have to. It makes me so laugh. Tony Kaku is his name, and he was on Britain's Got Talent, and
okay, yeah, I know. Yeah, I knew I'd seen it before. Yeah, I've
and
seen
he
it. Yeah,
makes
yeah, I've
me
seen his stuff
laugh
before.
so hard. Yes, sometimes you just need like a good laugh, and I
Yeah, I
like
remember seeing a clip of this on
I
Instagram.
cry
Yeah.
every time I watch it. I can't even like think about it because it makes me laugh. But I'm telling you, so yes, I think I respect Simon so much for the fact that sometimes he just goes with what the American people like, right? And
Yeah,
then
yeah. There's
it's
Mhm.
always room for like that, like silliness
yeah,
kind of thing, which is
yes,
another reason why
100%.
people watch the show. They like to see the different, like, entertaining, like talented people, yes, but sometimes also just like outrageous, outrageous people kind of like make it through sometimes just because it's
Yes,
so interesting to see that live. So
yes,
Mhm.
yeah.
yes. I know we got out on a tangent here, but what else is new with you other than your brand new job? I know you said you went to a couple of big gigs, or some
Yes,
gigs in the
yeah, really
area.
good gigs, yeah, traveling.
Anything else going on? How's your book doing? I know you have your book.
Yes. So yeah, oh my gosh, my book. I get like a lot of messages on people who like, have read it and who are buying it and stuff. And people are buying it. I'm grateful. But I've also learned over the years, like it's really difficult to like make like profit with writing a book, especially if you don't have any like connections or if you are not
Mhm.
like making it on some kind of best-selling list or something like that. So it's been slow, and I
Mm,
think this year, beginning of this year, I was when my the publishing company, told me that what was it? Because there's like a when I signed with them, there's like you sign in with like it's kind of like a sign-in bonus kind of like vibe
okay.
for like publishers or
Mm-hmm.
for like for writing. So some of them will bring you on with like some kind of like sign-in bonus, something like that.
Cool.
And so of course you have to make that back before you start earning royalties, basically, so that's
Mm-hmm.
really the hurdle. And I was warned, by my publishers and my agent, like, hey, a lot of people write books and never like, even break even. So just, don't expect too much too fast, no matter what's happening, like, at the end of the day, we're talking like a lot of money here. So, hopefully you get to the point where you can start. So all that to say, that only happened beginning of this year, since I wrote the book. Yeah, literally. So I wrote 2022, released in 2022 rather, and then 2024 February was when I finally broke even. So I was just like, first of all,
you did it though,
like,
right?
I didn't even know. I literally just gave up. Like, I would just promote it whenever I could. I would do what I usually do and just hope for the best. But I had really just kind of put it out of my mind as that being some kind of stream of income, because I knew that there was a huge hurdle, before it becomes that. So that really surprised me, and they were like, it's really good. I was like, oh my God, like I didn't think it'd happen anytime soon. Like, like this is soon to me based on what y'all was saying.
Right.
So that happened beginning of the year. So that was really cool.
Congratulations
on
that.
That's when I finally started earning royalties from that. So yeah, that has been really nice and really cool.
I'm sure.
I'm really, really grateful finally. So yeah, and it also gives you a lot of incentive to actually I always had the incentive to like promote it as much as I could, because I knew that I wanted to at some point. But it encouraged me to let me know that it was making a difference, and people are it just means people are actually buying it and reading it. So that was cool. That was cool to happen beginning of this year. So yeah.
And what about music? Tell me
music
more.
I've also been recording. I've been one main thing I want to do is a Christian album. That's something that has been on my heart for a long time. And I've written a bunch of songs, co-written a bunch of songs as well. And I've also had the privilege of like working with so many different songwriters towards that. However, sometime in the middle of this year, one of the songwriters that became a really good friend of mine actually passed away, which really sucks.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Really, yeah, he was dealing with like a long-term condition on and off, and he had been on such a good band. Like the last couple months of his life, he had like lost weight, he was getting healthy and stuff like that. But then in the end, it's still like it really sucked. His name was James Breedwell, and he actually was the one who helped me release my very first like full-length album. And so that was all him. That was him. He put so much effort. He introduced me to different people. The producer that like produced the entire album, he introduced me to the guy, so yeah, it just sucks that he wouldn't be here to see the sorry, I don't know why my light keeps doing that, but let me see.
Yeah, okay. That's what happens when we're live, right? The unpredictable things. So it's okay.
It's predictable. Yeah, I don't know why. It's just it kind of keeps blinking.
It doesn't want you to be visible today. It just wants to put us in the dark here.
Okay.
Well, and for those listening to, we'll make sure we have a link to Kechi's book in our show notes as well.
You.
And her album, for sure, because I know with a beautiful voice, we want to make sure it's heard. Well, I'm sorry to hear about your friend.
Yeah, it's sad. Yeah, but I'm still working on the album though, so hopefully, I don't know when. I have no release date like planned, but it's definitely a work in progress, and it's been really cool to like hear to hear songs that I actually wrote, like becoming something, like it's that's been very interesting, when I wasn't really sure if anyone would really understand, because one thing with the whole writing music thing, I love writing lyrics and melodies and stuff, but I'm still really finding it hard like learning like keys, like actually, so I just use my ears really, but like it's been a hard process, kind of like trying to learn how to read like sheet music and stuff. And that's something that I regret not like taking more serious. I mean, I had no idea what would happen eventually in my life, but like still, I did have a kid to like learn how to read music, and I just never took it. I wish I did, But aside from that, yeah, I'm really glad, like, we have things like GarageBand and, and Logic Pro, where you can like, put down beats, and like, you don't have to be like a professional to really do things like that, to use that software. So it's been helping me a lot. And then I also have a Christmas song that I'm hoping I would have out this year, because there's just like this whole thing of like, if you have one good Christmas song and that's like every year that people,
I love a good Christmas song,
you know,
Kechi. So
we don't know the
is
ones
it an
that
original?
people,
Is it original or is it like
it's an
a?
original, yeah, it's an original.
Oh,
I
So
love a
I
good
don't know.
Christmas
We'll
song.
see. I'm also trying to see if I want to do like one cover of like one of the like the classics.
Yep.
That was like everyone does everyone does their own version. That kind
Yes.
of thing. So I would
Yep.
like to do one.
There's like 8 versions of different Christmas songs, right? Like,
Exactly.
and
Exactly.
everyone has their favorite version.
Yes.
So, what
Yep.
is your favorite Christmas song, Kechi?
Man, it's probably um it's probably All I Want for Christmas. I would say
Oh, yes.
that's a standard.
That is a bop, right?
That's Mariah Carey. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes.
And then another
Absolutely.
one I like is This Christmas, the Chris Brown
Mm,
cover.
yeah. I
Yes.
like the Chris Brown one a
And
lot.
then I like Ariana Grande's Santa Baby, which is like
Yep.
she did like a like a poppy version of it, which is really
Yep.
nice. Yeah.
I do like a good like pop version of a Christmas
Me
song too.
Mhm.
I'm gonna throw it back to the 90s too. I do love a good NSYNC Christmas song as
Oh,
well.
which one?
So,
I didn't even know they had. And I love NSYNC.
oh girl, they have the best Christmas album in my opinion. And so
Really?
I
Why have
do,
I
yes.
never checked this out?
I don't know, but you need to. I tell you, throw it back to the 90s. I'm a 90s kid, and so I
Me too.
highly recommend the NSYNC Christmas album.
Ooh, and I
But
love
yes.
Pentatonics too.
Yes.
You know Pentatonics, the a cappella group?
Yes.
Mm.
They have
can
like
see.
they have an amazing Christmas album too.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
That's actually, yeah, I love that. They had one that
It's
they did with
funny.
Kelly Clarkson.
Yep.
Grown Up Christmas. No
Okay.
more life. So yeah, she had like a version she did with them.
Yeah.
It's incredible. Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
Pentatonics is
They were
another
just
one.
on The Masked Singer. Do you watch The Masked Singer?
No, but I've seen clips. I haven't seen like the full show, but I've seen some clips on YouTube. I watched when T-Pain was on there, which is
Yep.
really
T-Pain's
cool.
the
Yeah,
OG
T-Pain
Masked
was
Singer.
good, yeah.
Yep.
Kelly
Yep.
Clarkson,
I'm
yep.
telling you, you'd like it, but Pentatonics was just on there. And I guess Pentatonics because it's very hard to not know who their
Exactly.
voice is, right? Like they're
Exactly.
so good.
They're so good, yeah, yeah.
Yep. Awesome. Well, I'm going to get us back on track here a little bit. I think, Rachel, you're up with some questions we have for Kechi
Yeah.
too.
Well, I think I do want to dive a little bit more into your music, but for example, we have so many survivors and caregivers who want to either write their story, whether that's writing a book or just, an article, or some get into poetry or other art forms. So I guess what are some of your tips you would have for survivors who are wanting to share their story, especially through music?
I think honestly, it's one of those things where you make the decision and then you pray for the discipline to actually follow through, because that was one thing that I think that was the biggest struggle really for me, was finding the discipline and holding on to it for the entire process of putting this literary piece of work together. But the first step was determining that I was serious about this, and I wanted this. I had a clear picture of what I wanted it to be. I think for me, it was both just outlining exactly the structure of what I wanted to do and my why, and then the discipline to follow through on everything. So going with my book, the process of documenting my story through my book, that's something that I'd always wanted to do. I knew that I felt called to do that based on how people would react to my story and how encouraged people would be, whether it's burn survivors or other non-burn survivors. It let me know that there was a potential for a positive impact here, that would possibly grow even more if I were to write my entire experience in detail, and show that trajectory of my healing journey. I felt like there would be something in there for anyone, whether you're dealing with burns like I am, or if you're dealing with any other kind of injury or any kind of trauma, whether it's visible or invisible, or if you're someone who can just relate to a struggle period of time in one's life.
Yep.
So I knew that my goal was to encourage. My goal was to inspire. and I felt like there were elements, lots of elements in my story that had those
Themes.
like
Yeah.
those themes exactly. So I wanted to, with that as my focus, as my reason, I wanted to do it well. I knew that I didn't want to take any shortcuts. I wanted to make sure it was me putting out the work there. One thing for me that was really important was not having any ghostwriter, even though that would have made it faster. But it felt like a thing where it had to be completely personal, and no one would really
Authentic to
tell
you.
the story the same way that I would. And I didn't want
Mhm.
Sure.
to I wanted to maintain my voice in the entire storytelling process. So that was very important for me to hold on to. I kind of went back and forth with my publishers about that, but eventually they agreed. And so there was also a timeline. Once I put it out there to the world that I wanted to do this thing, then came the responsibility of doing it, because now it's not just about me. I've involved like other people, like the publishers, the agencies. So now there's like contracts involved. So now I kind of like went into it knowing that once I'm locked in, I just
Mm.
have to be locked in. There's no excuses and there's no backing out from this anymore, because now I've put it out there and people are now like invested in it as well. Like literally, so I think first be sure that this is something that you want to embark on, because once you do, you have to also be patient. Nothing good
Mhm.
is overnight. It doesn't happen that way. Everything has a process. So there will be a process, whether it's music or whether it's writing something, there will be a process, and the process is as long as it is what it is. So just I guess accepting that, acknowledging that that's what it's going to be. And then when you put yourself out there and you put your idea out there, following through and being disciplined enough to like force yourself into a routine with
Mm-hmm.
getting it done and getting it out there. For me, that was a timetable. Quite literally, I made one, put it on my wall, and there were no excuses. I was going to do this every single day for a certain amount of time. Like I knew that this is something that if I wanted it to finish, like to be done at a certain time, then I have to keep to this schedule that I've prepared for.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So that's like procrastination and like discipline. There's a very difficult things for me. So this book, like writing this book and putting it out there, was a huge, like, it was a very rigorous process for me, because I had to double down on myself and be strict with myself, because I knew what I wanted out of this. I wanted it to be well done, and I wanted it to have the impact that I knew that it could have.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think my advice would definitely be, first of all, outline exactly what you want to do, and then outline, like write that down, and then put together like an outline, or like how the process, you expect the process to
Mhm.
go. And then once you have like a clear idea of like the beginning and the ending and what you want to accomplish, then put yourself out there with on trying to connect with people who might be able to help you. You might already have people in mind that are ready and waiting for you. Um, you might not, so this would be a situation where you have to put yourself out there and not be afraid, because it is risky. You never know. When I was putting my story out there, I had like an agent that was helping me out, and we didn't know what kind of response, if any response, from any publishers would come in. So
Mhm.
it was a giant leap of faith too, because I might think my story is compelling, but we need a publisher out there has to think the same thing too.
Mhm.
So I think perseverance, yeah, the discipline to like carry it out. But first things first, put your thoughts down on paper so you can have a visual of what you
Mhm.
want to do. And I think that also helps in when you're pitching yourself, because if you have an idea of what you want, what you want, you can tell a person who asked you about it, who can actually potentially help. So
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, that just based on what I did, that's what I would advise really. Let's start with
Mhm.
finding exactly what you want to do, so you have something to pitch, and then just pray for the discipline to follow through. That's
Yeah, I'm sure it was definitely a disciplined process of like making sure you did, especially when you have other people invested. Yep, you can't
yes,
really back down on
you
that
can't back
for
down.
sure.
You have to deliver.
Well, we've been getting a bunch of questions here in the chat, so we're gonna pick a couple here to ask. I know the last time we talked, you had been to Nigeria, I believe, once, but Tina is asking, how often do you go, or do you have any maybe trips planned in the future?
Good question. I go as often as I can. The last time I went was pre-COVID. So I haven't been able to go since then, since 2020. But I've been planning to. Last year, I started like making plans to go this year. But then when the year rolled around 2024, around April, when I was supposed to go, there was a lot of political unrest back home.
Mhm.
A lot of people were advising me not to, which would have sucked if I didn't have a flexible ticket, because that would have just been gone. But I just, with Nigeria, you just kind of, you can't just do like non-refundable stuff. You have to
Right.
have like flexibility, because you just never know. And so the
Right.
climate at the time was just not conducive for, because I was trying to go home for a book launch. I'm planning like an official like hometown book launch, like in
Sure.
my home, where I'm from, and the people where I have the most support, which is Nigeria.
Sure.
And I wanted to do like because I've done like a soft launch here in America, but I wanted to do like a big main one in Nigeria, like invite people and make a whole thing of it. So that was like what I was in the middle of planning when things started getting kind of like left and just getting weird back home. My dad told me, he was like, I don't know if you can come right now. This might not be the right climate for something like that, like a book launch. There's unrest, there's this. But unfortunately, that's really usually the case all year round in Nigeria. So I was also like, I mean, at the end of the day, there's really not going to be a perfect time to do something like this. People, the thing about the country is people do what they can despite the circumstances. And you just have to find a way to just do what you want to do and accomplish what you want to accomplish despite the country. So I put it off then because it was pretty bad in April, but I'm still hoping I can go this year. It's looking like it might be more like a Thanksgiving kind of like time frame for that. But it's something I still want to do this year if possible. If not, I'll move it back. I like traveling around like March, April. It's just the best time in terms of price and like crowd. Like people don't usually travel like in the middle of like April-ish. Like there's not like the people are it's not a very busy travel season for like the route between America and Nigeria around that time. So I prefer it. But if I can go this year, I would, because I had like people on ground that I was communicating with and putting everything together. So it's just a matter of figuring out the best time to make the flight, to make the trip, so that all the people that I was working with are still available to do what they were doing, work together on ground for me before I get there. So yeah, it's just a lot of logistics really. But I have full intentions to travel pretty soon, as soon as possible, honestly, because I really want to get the book launch going, and I think it'll drive sales, and I think that it's really good to kind of have a full circle moment, really, with something like this book. The story starts in Nigeria. I would like to bring it back to Nigeria too. So
Awesome.
yeah,
Well, we hope that you get there.
Thank
as
you.
well. And it does look, I'm going to do a hi mom shout out. My mom wanted to know if you're still pursuing her singing career. Mom, I don't know if you listened earlier, but Kechi is releasing hopefully a Christmas song, which my mom loves Christmas as much as I do. So there's my hi mom shout out. And it looks
hey,
like,
Mom.
Hey, Mom.
Hi, Mom. See ya. Good to see ya. And then it does look like we've got someone that is in Ohio that wants to say hello. She's happy to see that you're connecting with the burn community and says hello. So
hi, Yolanda. I see her. Fumilayo. Oh yeah, that's a fellow Nigerian right there for sure. Hi,
well,
hi. Good to see you. Thank you so much for your support. I will check the DMs.
everyone, keep the questions coming. Kechi is here with us for another 15 minutes or so we can continue to ask you some questions. But
yes, please feel free.
Ask her as many. Oh yes, Yolanda says hello again. So, okay, well, going off of that, I think we follow you on social media quite a bit, and so social media is now part of your life, both from a corporate and your own personal brand. I think we get caught up sometimes, right, that everything is maybe perfect and not looking at the reality. So how do you stay positive, right? Even when I know I saw you itch earlier, when we get those itches, right? Or when we're having a day where we're just irritated by our burns and can't get
Um,
enough of it. I'm sure I still get them. I have wounds that still open up and it drives me nuts, or I'm itching.
same. Yep.
So how do you kind of overcome that when you're trying to stay positive for social?
Mm. So honestly, social media for me is I try my best. I know it's mostly a highlight reel really for everyone, for most of us, and we always want to, post. You only want to post stuff when you're feeling good anyway. Like no one wants to put, negative stuff out there because, it's just you want to celebrate the good things. That's why we post them. But I do try my best to be full like just stay fully aware when it comes to social media because of the kind of content that I put out there and what I represent. I believe that me and my story, I represent the fact that life isn't always going to be roses, and it's not always going to be fluffy clouds. And like that's really what my me existing here is a sure, like it's a very obvious kind of sign that like shit can happen, to anyone. And so it's always been very important for me to show all sides of myself on social media because while it's going to be still skewered to positive, I never wanted to seem like I'm only having positive moments in life. I try to share everything. When I'm having a bad day and I haven't posted in a while, I'm not going to let it stop me from posting. I'm just going to be honest about, you know why I'm not
Going
exactly
about day.
smiling or why I'm not feeling really good. I talk about stuff in my captions all the time and try to, post things that align with what I'm feeling in that moment. So I do try my best to have my social media depict reality as much as possible.
Mm.
And sharing the bad days, especially when they have to do with like my burn specifically, I think is very important because um, well, number one, the relatability with other burn survivors because I don't want them to see my stuff and think, oh yeah, there's this one burn survivor who's just always living the life and she's always good, everything's going well for her, and she's like healing well and she's not having any issues. But that's not the truth. The truth is, there's moments when I'm feeling down. There's times when my itching is really bad, and I have like posts that I post about, like I put them out there. I don't delete them because that is like my reality at that time. So I do try to like stay as authentic as possible. And then when I'm feeling down, if I'm not posting that day, I'm probably doing something to distract myself from whatever's making me feel down. The main thing that would really affect my mood is probably the itching.
Mm.
It's honestly, it's become like a different beast this year. I just don't understand.
Mm.
It's really been weird. It's been very weird. And this year alone has just been, especially the past couple months, like summer really. Even though I
Right.
stay mostly indoors because it's summer, the itching doesn't seem to really it used to have a direct correlation to like whether I was hot or cold, how I was feeling,
Sure.
or if I was dry and not like no lotion. Those
Mhm.
are I'm used to like those being like indicators of like why I would itch. But then these days it doesn't really have any pattern anymore that I can trace.
Mm.
It just happens. And it also happens on my non-burn skin, which this is like that's brand new because now it has me thinking, do I have an allergy or something? Because I'm not used
Right.
to I'm not used to itching. I'm not used to itching where I don't have any kind of scars or burns. So it's been really weird trying to navigate
Yeah.
that. And it's a real struggle. I actually have a video I filmed about it that I'm gonna probably post at some point because it's
Oh
really
yeah.
like it's really becoming a big problem. And
Mm.
big enough that I feel like I need to address it now because that's like becoming more like my life right now, and I like to
Yeah.
post my life. So on days like that, like when it's just really bad, and on the worst days, I can just feel like every little thing is irritating me.
Mm.
Like I would if I have to go to work on that day, I would just wear my hat because I just can't have anything touching me. Like my clothes irritate. Like just on days like that, I try to do something that I like. So that would typically be either singing, recording something just for fun, or playing video games. That's a major distraction for me. That's something I've always loved to
Mm.
do. But lately, it's definitely been helping me kind of like once
Take your
my mind
mind
is
off of it.
off me and it's on something that I have to focus on to do well in, which is pretty much what video games are, it helps me a lot to come out of myself and not be too focused on how I'm feeling, So it doesn't take it away, but it certainly distracts, So I would say music, video games, those are two things that really help me a lot with distracting me from, and also reading too. I love to read like just fictional novels, things like that. So there's are things that like help me to distract me when things are really, really bad.
I feel like when you talk about itching too, it makes me itchy. So like, I'm sure if you focus on it, right? Like you're laughing, but it's true, right? Like when you start talking about it, I think it's so, like I play games on my phone, right? Or something like you need anything to like distract you from talking about, right? So I apologize for bringing it up because let me tell you, once you start talking about it, everybody starts itching. But I know you also have a pretty large following on social media. And we had Tina ask a related question, but I'm sure your comments are also not always positive, right?
True.
So I'm sure we've had other folks on the show that have, larger followings that have to deal with bullies or whatnot. How do you come over or get over it, right? And sometimes you don't, right? Sometimes folks are just mean, and it's okay to feel sad because they're just mean. But how do you handle those types of comments on social?
Let's see. First things first, I barely read comments. Let me just put that out there.
I think that's a great
idea.
I
post and I'm there for the first maybe 5 minutes after I put the post out, just to catch the first few people who comment so I can say something back and interact with them. But what I do is when I post what I want to post, and I hang around a little bit, I make some comments, I respond to some comments, and then I leave. I come back like maybe a day after, and by then comments sort of filter themselves into like, the top ones showing first. Usually those are positive. So I comment on those. If a friend reaches out to me, like, hey, someone really big responded, said something, you need to go respond to them, acknowledge that you saw their comment. I have friends that do that for me to make sure I don't miss anyone.
Awesome.
Yeah. And also I have friends who like read everything because they're like watching everything people are doing. So on my behalf, because they know I don't read it. So basically all that to say, I barely look through comments. And it might seem like, a type of way because, you're supposed to interact with people. I still do. If you go on there, you would see me still like commenting back and forth with people. But I don't stay on it because I know that, when you're looking for something, you're going to find it, and if I ever end up scrolling through comments, I'm going to eventually see one that might be very, not so, just not so nice, or not so positive, and because I know that most of my stuff is 99.9% positive, I don't engage really with the negative ones. I really don't. Like the ones that are really, if anyone is really bad, I might respond with if I respond, it wouldn't be to that comment. It would be in a video. I would say, I would like highlight the comment and then use that as a talking point for something. And usually that happens if someone says something ignorant about that goes beyond me and enters into the burn community. Those are things that I think I'm mostly triggered by if someone comes for my community, or they say something that shows that they don't know much about, what it means to be, a burn survivor. And they're making blanket statements about burn survivors, things like that. I feel the need to address because people that follow me, a lot of them are burn survivors, and I know they go through comments. A lot of people read comments, and I would never want something that someone says to affect another burn survivor, like on my page in a negative way. I don't want them seeing those things and internalizing them. So I would address something if someone says something ignorant that, would affect other people. Aside from that, for me, I'm not gonna lie, it's really hard to get to me just because there are the things that people would want to use to insult me are things that I've already accepted about myself. So they're not insults.
You gotta accept that first.
They're already who I am. You can't, if you try to come for me through my burns or insulting how I look, you're not gonna get what you want because you can't shame me or insult me over something that I've accepted as part of who I am. It's not good, it's not bad, it's just part of who I am. And so, I'm not gonna feel any type of way if you come for that because within me, I've already put it in the place that it belongs. I I have my hierarchy of things that are important when it comes to like, my relationship with my burns, with my injuries, and my relationship with my self-esteem and myself. And I'm fortunate to kind of live in a way where I see those two things as separate. So I feel like, my burns are part of my identity, but they're not everything. So you can't, if you judge me based on just that, you probably just don't know me, which is most people. So that's another thing. Another angle to that is these are strangers. These are people that I don't know. I might never meet in my life.
And
So
I don't care, right?
it just doesn't make any sense to have a stranger affect me in a personal way because they don't know me. They just know what I post, So
and a lot of folks are ignorant. I think you made a great point there of saying, like, you know what, a lot of it is because they don't know.
they don't know. They don't get
And we
it.
talk about that a lot, right? Like people ask questions sometimes because they don't know,
That's
or
true.
they're unaware, right? I know for me personally, like if I get somebody asking a question, it's probably because they're just wondering and they are curious, right?
You can always tell
Most of the time.
You can tell when the tone is genuine curiosity versus like a backhanded kind of comment. They're just, you can always kind of tell. And I think, okay, so a great example of like how I handle these things. Recently I posted like a bikini shot. I went to the beach, or rather a pool, and I took a couple of pictures. I was looking great, and I post how I like. It wouldn't be the first time I've ever posted me in a bathing suit or in a like two-piece. It's just that before I was bigger, and now I'm not as big, but it's still a good bikini that isn't like too showing everything, but it is a bikini, so you can see all my burns, you can see everything. So whenever I do things like that, I always know what I always expect. I expect that it's going to become a thing because, Kechi Okwuchi, burn survivor, did this and did that. And anytime, so I knew I knew that posting something like that would make like, because a lot of Nigerian webs like blogs and pages that like follow me, and so they post like whenever something milestone happens in my life. So they've always been very supportive, and they put my stuff out there. Like last time when I graduated, my MBA, they posted about it everywhere. So there's always that like relationship. So, but they'll also post stuff that is like they feel like will get good traction on their page too. So
sure, of course, everybody wants clickbait, right? So
exactly.
yeah.
So a lot of Nigerian, all these websites and all these blogs reposted the bikini shots. Even before I got a chance to put it on Twitter, I was already on Twitter, and I knew that like it would trigger a lot of like commentary because there's a difference between the comments that are on your page of people that find your accounts, and there's a difference between that and if someone reposts you on like a blog or like a website that's a news website. When they do that, your image and who you are, you're being encountered for the first time by a bunch of people who are not your usual audience. So they will have different opinions, So, but I don't. So when things like that happen, I know what's going to happen, and I know even now it's even more important not to like care about comments because number one, it's going to be a lot more like negatives than you're used to because this is not your usual like audience. There's a whole bunch of other people, and secondly, I have a lot of people in my life who are locked and loaded and always ready to like to just kind of go back and forth with all these trolls, basically. So I try. I don't. By the time I get somewhere with a by the time I get onto a like being aware of a negative comment, there's like hundreds of responses on there already with like my supporters or my family or my friends. So I typically don't really have to do much anyway, So oftentimes I end up hearing about negative comments after the fact, after it's been dealt with, because of the kind of like tribe that I have around me, and because of how I navigate it. So yeah, so I try my best to. Bottom line, I stay away from it as much as possible because I don't want it to affect my peace. And nothing anyone says is going to make me. Once I've decided to post something, I don't post like just cause I think I think about everything, and I don't believe in deleting posts. I believe in standing your ground and saying things with
and
your
not
chest.
backing down to the trolls.
Yeah, exactly. So, if you have to make another post to address a mistake you made in the last post, fine. But I'm not going to delete that mistake. It's going to stay there,
And it wasn't a mistake, right? I meant to post it. If you have a problem with it, that's your fault.
So that's how I do social media. I don't delete stuff, and I put things out there, and no one's going to bully me into taking something down because it makes you uncomfortable to see a birth survivor in all her glory. that's who I am. So you take it like, and I'm not done posting them either. I have a bunch of other bikini shots that I took.
I can't
I'm
wait
just
to see them.
I'm gonna
Keep
post a
them
bunch
coming,
more.
right? I think there's not enough out there for us. Well,
Right?
I know Laverne says to know her is to love her. So I think that is so true and very important, right? So always keep your head up. Thank you for the positivity we've got out here.
Oh,
Well, I
that's
know
such a sweet comment, Laverne. I love that for your daughter. That's so cool. And she's like around my age too.
she is.
Oh my God, like, our injuries happened at the same age. I was 16 too when the plane crash happened. Wow.
Well, you're
Oh,
getting lots of love on social today,
shout
Kechi.
out to your daughter, Laverne. That was so lovely to share. Thank you.
So I know we're coming up on time here. So we have two final questions for you,
Yes.
Ketchi,
Okay.
that we always ask our survivors. And for we're in season 5. It's kind of
Wow.
hard to believe,
By the way,
right?
congrats, y'all. You guys have made it so far. That's so cool.
Thank you.
So cool. 5 years
So
is a big deal.
I'll let you, or actually, it's my question first, I think. What is
Okay.
one thing, Ketchi, that you want the world to know about being a burn survivor?
What I want the world to know about being a burn survivor?
Mm-hmm.
I want the world to know that burn survivors are the most resilient group of people that you would ever meet. When it comes to the word resilience,
Mm-hmm.
any burn survivor that you meet is going to be the like picture perfect description of that word resilience, because just the mere fact of our existence, despite what happened to us trying to live our lives and our day to day, and just continue to be a part of society despite what happened to us that try to take us out of society. I think that by itself, shows the kind of resilience that all burn survivors have. And to me, that extends towards other people who may not relate to the injuries that we have, but it's really more, it speaks on the strength that human beings have in general and the ability they have to pull out what they need to pull out at the time that it's needed. I feel like a lot of times people underestimate the what we as humans are capable of. And unfortunately, with burn survivors, you're pushed to kind of like an edge where you're forced to find out exactly what you're capable of. And I wouldn't wish any kind of extreme situation like that on anyone else, just to discover how resilient they are. But I do believe that just the fact that we exist shows the that human beings' capacity for endurance and for resilience is much like wider,
Greater than you think. Yeah.
much greater than anything we'd ever really think about ourselves. And I think that I want other people to be aware of the fact that they're built the same way. They have the same thing that we have inside us. We just have to pull it out like really, really like, drastically in certain moments. But I think we all have that capacity. And I want people to realize that about themselves, because it'll help you when you're dealing with things that feel like they're too big for you to handle. But the fact is that, if we're all here right now, it's because we've all overcome things in our past that at the time felt like too high mountain to like overcome.
Yep.
But we're here. So we've actually been doing that since we're born, So I want people to just be aware of the fact that, you see a burn survivor, you're meeting the definition of resilience. And it means that you have that in you, because that person's a human being just like you. So
I love the phrase "you can do hard things," and I think after my burn injury, like that's my mantra. Is right. I can do hard
that's
things. I know
really,
that I
really
can.
good.
Right.
I like that.
So
You're the evidence of that fact right there. I can do hard things. So
mhm.
yeah, that's true.
I love it. Well, it is time for our final question, which is our Phoenix Partner question today, sponsored by Allosource, one of the largest human tissue suppliers providing life-saving skin allografts. So their question is, what is one word you would use to describe the burn survivor community?
One word. Well, aside from resilience,
Yeah.
I was going to say it's probably resilience. I would
that's
say,
pretty much
right?
that's a big one for me, definitely. I would say resilience would be the most, but if I were to give a different response, I would say strength. And that's in every way, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, all of it. Just I believe that the burn survivor community embodies strength, true strength, the strength of that human beings are capable of having. I think that's what we are.
I love it.
Kechi, I would love to close us out with a few words of song, if you don't mind. Would you be willing to give us a few quick?
Just a quick little. Okay, what would I sing that would go with our theme? Okay.
You got one already? I'm putting you on the spot here, and you're here for it. I love it.
I'm always ready. There's always something playing in my head anyway, so it's
All right.
not. I'm not even. And plus, I
right.
kind of had a feeling that I would be asked, so I kind of thought about
It was me. I did it. So
I usually like to prepare just in case something like this happens. So
she came prepared. All right, let's hear it.
Okay, so this is gonna be just a little bit of "Scars to Your Beautiful," one of my favorite songs ever by Lessa Cara. Okay. She just wants to be beautiful. She goes unnoticed. She knows no limit. She prays attention. She catches the limit. She hopes to be someone with I forgot the lyrics. Wait. Oh, he don't see the light that's shining different than the eyes can't find it. Maybe we have made her blind, so she tries to cover up her skin and throw her woes away. But cover girls don't cry before their face is made. But there's a hope that's waiting for you in the dark. You should know you're beautiful just the way you are. You don't have to change a thing. The world can change its heart. No scars to your beautiful. We're stars and we're beautiful. Oh, oh, you don't have to change a thing. The world can change its heart. No scars to your beautiful. We're stars and we're beautiful.
That was amazing.
That was beautiful.
I love that song too, by the way. Until you started singing, I was like, oh, this is my jam. I love this song.
I love it.
Awesome. Well, Kechi, you are wonderful. We thank you so much. And especially for that little ballad at the end. You killed it.
Thank you guys. Thanks for having me.
We hope to catch up with you again soon, okay?
Me too. Always a pleasure, guys. Thank you.
Always a pleasure. We'll talk to you soon, Kechi. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of Girls with Grafts. If you are enjoying this content, please feel free to rate, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. This helps others find the show, and we greatly appreciate it. Thanks again for listening, and we'll catch you in the next episode.